Good evening. Welcome to the latest edition of the Late Late Show with me, Irish Tommy. As you can see, I'm sporting the new mustard away shirt, courtesy of my lovely girlfriend Sinead. Thank you, baby. Okay, so let's see what we got in the house. A little bit of housekeeping first. Usual is in as always. First in every time. Usual. Well done, mate. Hammers Mikey, how you doing, mate? Hope you're well. Paul Evans is in. When we see Alvarez on the pitch. It's a good question. Mixed messages coming out of the club. Alvarez says he's fit and ready to go. David Moyes says he's not ready to go. So, and ultimately, David Moyes is the guy who makes the decisions. But he says Alvarez hasn't trained much, not just at West Ham, but in general. So, obviously, match fitness is going to be an issue. But I don't imagine it being capable of being on the bench. Surely could get 20 minutes out of him at least tomorrow. Let him make his debut. Get those 20-25 minutes of competitive game time into him. That'll really help his fitness along. Get some game time. I'd imagine he'd be on the bench. I mean, he's not injured. He's fit. He's raring to go. He should be on the bench, in my opinion. I know he probably can't do 90 minutes of Premier League football right now, but I think we should see him in the second half. I don't see why we wouldn't. Ian Barcham is in. How you doing, mate? Paul Evans also joining. Good to see you, Paul. Who's in goal tomorrow? That's Fabianski. He is absolutely still Moyes' number one, I'm sure. I'll be surprised if it's Areola. I'm pleasantly surprised, but I'll be surprised. Vinay is in. How you doing? Has James Prowse Ward signed? No. James Ward-Prowse hasn't signed yet. No, it's gone weirdly quiet, that one, which is a bit strange. He was supposedly in London to do his medical today. Now, that would mean he should be announced tomorrow. So it'll be interesting to see if that announcement comes. But normally you hear a leak, that he's passed his medical and it's a done deal. You usually get a leak, Fabrizio Romano does his little tweet there, or X does his tweet, with the Mexican flag and the pen symbol and stuff and the crossed hammers. So it's done. And he's with the media team for the reveal tomorrow. But I haven't seen it unless something's happened in the last little while. Maybe someone in the chat knows if anything's happened in the last while. But that, as far as I'm aware, supposed to be doing his medical today. So we'll see. Danielle Valentine. That was at 10:01, Danielle. Jeez, you got no patience at all. You must have really missed me. You must have. Just admit it, Danielle. You missed me. Ian, why did you? Yeah, well, we just said that. Why did you be taking so long? That's the big question. Hopefully, everything's okay. I do expect him to sign. I have to say, I do expect he'll sign. So fingers crossed. We'll get confirmation tomorrow. So Peter Johnson is saying medical done, announced in 72 hours. Why would it take 3 days? It shouldn't take 3 days after he's completed his medical to officially announce him as a player. It should happen the next day. There's no reason whatsoever for it to take 3 days. John is in. How you doing, mate? Good to see you. Paul Chambers, even Tommy, no new faces for opening game. Don't see us avoiding defeat as nothing has changed. Yeah, it's going to be a tough one tomorrow. A very tough game. Away from home. Bournemouth have made some smart signings. They've got a new manager in with a new philosophy. He likes to press high and put pressure on the defenders trying to bring the ball out and midfielders. So that's going to be a problem for us because in our less friendly, we were subjected to a high press and we just kept coughing the ball up. Couldn't string 3 passes together without giving it away again. And that's a worry for me. I think if they press us high tomorrow, it doesn't augur well for us. We're going to be looking again at 30% possession over the course of the 90 minutes as usual. So I'm worried about tomorrow, particularly as you say, we won't have any new signings. Plus, we won't have Declan Rice, who obviously was hugely important and influential in the team. And there's a little uncertainty about Paqueta. We don't know exactly where that deal is at. It could be a long way off, or it could be close enough to where it looks like it's going to get done. And we do not want to risk him getting injured. We will know a lot more about how far along the Paqueta deal is tomorrow at 2 p.m. when that team is announced. If Paqueta's in it, obviously, then we're still some way off getting a deal done with City. If he's not there, then the deal is close, and Man City and West Ham both feel like that's going to get done very soon. So that'll be an interesting one to see. Obviously, look, if Paqueta's not available tomorrow, it's going to make life even more difficult. He's the one player left at the moment that can do something really, has real flair, and could win a game for us. So if he's not there, I mean, you'd have to be very worried. You're a nice shirt. Yeah, they are, mate. I'll be honest. They've nailed it on bro with this one. I have to say, it looks nice in the photos and stuff, but when you see it in real life, when you take it out of the packaging and you hold it up and you look at it, it's a beautiful shirt. So very happy with it. Good to see you. Greeno, we know, is in already. John, yeah, I love the shirt. Yeah, why haven't we seen the third one yet? When do they normally do the reveal on the third shirt? Because I'm interested to see what they're going to do with that, if they're going to nail that as well, or if it's going to be an abomination. Lawrence Watkins in, who are from Lexington, Kentucky, home of the Derby. Am I right? The famous Kentucky Derby. Is that around Lexington somewhere? Marcus Archer, forgive me. I'm going to say Mela. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Sorry, bud. But welcome, Marcus. Do you think Paqueta will leave? I think that one's up in the air. I think it's up in the air. I'm not sure. It's going to be a case of what the valuation is that we've placed on Paqueta, and if Man City are willing to match it. I think, again, we're looking for very big money. I think we're probably looking to double our money. We all in, we would have spent, say, 50 million on him. I suspect the club are looking for around the 100. I don't think Man City will go that high. I think Man City will probably do a deal around the 80, maybe 85 at a push. But whether we'll accept that or not, I don't know. It'll be an interesting one because he does have an £85 million release clause, which will be triggered at the end of this season. So we'd be forced to take 85 million, whether we liked it or not, at the end of next season, if someone triggers that clause. So it's hard to imagine why we wouldn't accept a fee in that ballpark now. So it's up in the air. We'll see how badly City want him. I don't know where Paqueta's head is at either. I don't suspect he'll throw his dummy out the pram if he doesn't get the move. I hope, because that's the last thing we need is Paqueta causing problems and being really unhappy. But I don't imagine he'd be chuffed. Given that Man City have come in for him, that's a move I would imagine he would be very eager to make. And you can't blame him. I don't blame him for, this is Man City and Pep Guardiola. Who wouldn't want to play for them? So I don't blame Paqueta for being eager to make the move. I don't think it's a slight on West Ham, and I don't think it means he's unhappy at West Ham. It's just a huge opportunity to play for Man City and to play for Guardiola. So how he'll feel if it falls through, I don't know. Hopefully it won't affect him and he'll just knuckle down and get on with playing for West Ham. So there's a lot of variables at the moment with the Paqueta deal. Nobody, I think, outside of the inner circles of Man City and West Ham really know what's happening right now. But I'd imagine, like I say, tomorrow 2 p.m. when the team is announced, will give us an indication of whether any kind of a deal is close or not. So let's wait and see. Lawrence was a nice kid. Yeah, it is. It's beautiful. Yeah, it's much nicer than the home one. Much nicer. Greeno says rumors building of Brendan Johnson and Santi Jimenez, foreign striker, and friends with Alvarez. Yeah, I've been working all week, and it's been a little bit tough to keep on top of everything. I have a good grasp of what's been going on, but I have not heard any. Do you mean Brennan Johnson? Is that who you mean at Forest? Maybe it's Brennan Johnson. Your phone might have typoed that. Brennan Johnson, I like, but he's not a Moyes striker. I don't see how Brennan Johnson would work as an Antonio replacement. To be completely honest, we play a completely different style of football to Forest, and I just don't see a player like Brennan Johnson. We're going to need to create chances for him to score in and around the box, and we just don't really do that for our strikers. It's the reason Danny Ings has struggled so much. If we're going to sign a striker while Moyes is here, it's going to be have to be someone who can play up top on his own, and who's powerful and who's going to be able to hold up those long balls that are played up to him. It's as simple as that. He's going to have to be able to do what Antonio does. Otherwise, it's just not going to work. And Brennan Johnson makes no sense to me, to be completely honest. I just don't see how that would work. He's completely the wrong. I like Brennan Johnson. I mean, he's a talented player, no doubt, and could work under a different manager and a different style of football. But I just don't see it working at West Ham under Moyes, to be completely honest. I think it would be more wasted money. You look like our new midfielder in that shirt, Tommy. Not really. He doesn't have the magnificent salt and pepper beard, though, does he? I mean, he's still too young, but when he matures like a fine wine, then maybe one day he'll be able to grow a salt and pepper beard. Not Premier League ready. Well, no, of course not. He's never kicked a ball in the Premier League. I don't think that was what Moyes was referring to. I think Moyes was referring to actual match fitness, that he's not ready to just be chucked in, that he just doesn't have 90 minutes in him. But I think we will see him make his full debut at home to Chelsea next week. That would be my expectation. I think once Moyes has got him on the training ground for another full week, he's got that fitness up, and he's integrated into the squad a little bit. I think then we'll see him next week. We have to. I mean, look, we desperately need someone in that position. So he's just going to have to put him in there and let him get used to the league. And look, the quickest way to get used to playing in the Premier League is to play in the Premier League. All this stuff about integrating them slowly and drip feeding them into the team over 3 or 4 months is horse shit, in my opinion. The faster you put him in and the more minutes he plays, the quicker he adjusts and becomes accustomed to it. Plus, he's Mexican, he's going to have that grit already. He's not going to mind the physical stuff. All he has to get used to really is the extra kind of pace and intensity of the Premier League. But good players will adjust, and they'll adjust pretty quickly. And I think the DM position is a position where you can adjust and you can learn quickly. So I think chuck him in against Chelsea. I'd still like to see him, even though he's not match fit, I'd still like to see him given 15, 20 minutes tomorrow off the bench, just to give him his introduction to the Premier League. I think that would be good for him. Paul Evans, is Souček ever ready? No. Obviously, we're going to see Souček tomorrow from the start, which I did not want to see this season. My hope was that we would have replaced him by now. But he's going to have to play. The question is going to be tomorrow the formation and who's going to start in midfield. If Moyes sticks with 3 midfielders, he's got a problem. Who's he going to play? If he's still going with the 3 in midfield, flat back 4, like a 4-3-3, basically he's kind of going to have to go with Souček, Downs and Fornals, really. I mean, who else is going to play in there? It's a strange one. Unless he does something weird, and what Moyes is like. He could put like Downs, Souček and Kehrer or something and do something unusual. which would be just absolutely shocking. It doesn't bode well for tomorrow. I mean, like if Paqueta can't play, if it looks like he's going to City and he doesn't play tomorrow, our midfield is going to be really, really shoddy, really poor. Eddie, even from Belize, great to see you, Tom. Great to see you too, Eddie. What the fuck are you doing in Belize? Who goes to Belize? Are you living in Belize? If you live in Belize, fair enough. If you went to Belize, why? Answers are needed, Eddie. Need answers. Belize. Great to see you, though. Thanks for joining. Mandy G in the house. How are you? Surely the Royal JWP and Alvarez means Souček hits the bench. Yes, you would think if Paqueta is still around. So if Paqueta is still around, then the obvious three, as you say, is Alvarez, Paqueta, and Ward-Prowse. So I would imagine, surely at that point, Souček drops to the bench. You're not signing £30 million James Ward-Prowse just to warm the bench, surely. So yeah, I would think so. But let's hope Paqueta is with us for this season. Frano's in. Good to see you, Frano. Thanks for joining. And who else have we got? We've seen you. P-Gads. How you doing, mate? Nice kit, Tommy. I wouldn't eat any spaghetti while wearing it. No, that's the thing with these white kits. You can't do shit in these things. Like, don't eat in them. Like, seriously, like, I've got a cup of tea here, and I'm, like, leaning forward, like, being really careful that I don't get so much as a drip of tea on this thing, because that's it fucked. Cool. Hope I haven't cursed myself. Epic hashtag, how we doing, mate? I suspect JW isn't Moyes' first choice, or the club doesn't really want him. I think Moyes would prefer McTominay, but the money United are looking for is a bit rich. So yeah, I think Moyes wanted a double swoop for Maguire and McTominay ideally. But United's price tag on McTominay is shocking. 45 million is way too much. But I think we'd like to get McTominay for around the 30 as well. I think we did go in apparently, or at least verbally, we discussed the possibility of £60 million for Maguire and McTominay, which was shot down by United. 45 is too much. 40 is too much. I wouldn't pay 35. I would do what we did with Maguire and say, look, we're going to give 30 and that's it. We're not paying 40 or more. Not happening. And look, it's worked with Maguire. We or at least United have finally come around to accept the 30 million. I think the reason being that they need that money to go get Amrabat, who I think is an important signing in Ten Hag's eyes. I think he really wants Amrabat, but they have to sell to buy. So I think they caved on the 30 million from Maguire so they could go and do that. Now, whether they would cave on the McTominay fee to go get someone else, I have my doubts. I'm not sure if there is somebody else that they feel like they need to go and get, and they would need the 30 million for McTominay to go do that. That's why I think they've caved on the Maguire money so they can go get Amrabat. May not be the same situation, unfortunately, with McTominay. I'm going to go through all these players, by the way, in a while and give my opinions on all of this. As you saw from my thumbnail, it's Moyesball 2.0. He has hit the reset button. He got his feet burned last season, and he's hit the reset button. We'll get into that. John Lewis got a new shirt. Yes, I do. It's beautiful. It's perfect. Again, thanks to my fabulous girlfriend, Sinead, who bought me this for our anniversary. So that was nice. John Layton saying Moyes said during his press conference, saying he was having his medical and waiting for results. Yeah, we understood, the medical was today. So we're just going to have to wait now. But that should be announced tomorrow. assuming he's passed the medical, which I imagine he must have. Ward-Prowse, actually, the good thing was he's not injury prone at all. He's had very few injuries. Season on season, he barely misses a game. So at least that's something good. So our Tommy's dream team being assembled by Moyes. Yeah, Plodders United. Go on, I said. So Freno P. So is Alvarez starting tomorrow? No. Not only is he not starting tomorrow, we may not see him at all. That remains to be seen. He certainly will not start. Moyes has already basically said as much. He's just not ready. So whether he's ready in Moyes' eyes for the bench and to make an appearance, we'll have to wait and see. He should be, though. I mean, he's not, he's not that unfit, for Christ's sake. Trevor, do you think Alvarez will go Man City this time next year? No. No, I don't. Well, look, we'll have to see. I mean, look, I'll be honest, when it comes to Alvarez, excuse me, I hadn't heard of him until we were linked with him. I've never seen him play. I'd like to say I'm really excited by the signing. I'm happy with the signing because it's a DM to replace Declan Rice, and that was obviously something we desperately needed. So I'm happy that we've replaced Declan Rice with a proper DM. But I can't be excited because the first time he takes to the pitch in a West Ham shirt is the first time I will see him play. It might be in the flesh because myself and Sinead are coming over to London next Saturday. We're flying over and we're going to be at the Chelsea game on Sunday week. So really looking forward to that. Big London derby, first home game of the season. The atmosphere should be really good. And hopefully I'll get to see Alvarez and maybe someone else too. Maybe James Ward-Prowse, maybe Maguire too. Who knows? I might see 3 or possibly even more debutants. Who knows? So that's exciting. So if any of you see me in and around the ground before, during, after the game, by all means come and say hi. And you'll get to call me a cunt to my face when you've only been able to do it up until now in the live chat. So, yay for you. Andrew, have no idea what kind of midfield we'll see tomorrow. No Dupley, no Alvarez. No, those two will absolutely not be starting tomorrow. James Ward-Prowse obviously won't be eligible to play because he didn't sign on the dotted line in time to be eligible to face Bournemouth. So you won't see Ward-Prowse, assuming he does sign, until the Chelsea game. And Alvarez, it might be the same case. We may not see him at all until the Chelsea game. Scott Moyes said Alvarez not ready. Yeah, basically said he's not ready. West Ham do everything slowly, so announcements take time. Not 72 hours, not 3 days. It didn't happen with Alvarez. Alvarez signed on Tuesday night, was it? And was officially announced on Wednesday. So it doesn't take that long. The media team will be doing their thing either this evening or tomorrow morning with James Ward-Prowse. And then it'll get announced tomorrow, I'm pretty sure. They might announce him. There might be... Do you know what wouldn't surprise me? They might be waiting until after the game tomorrow in case we lose. And then as a kind of little, forget the game over here. Look, shiny new player. Announcement video to calm us all down after we've lost 3-0 and we're losing our shit. So we'll see. They might do it like that. Wouldn't surprise me. Mandy G, most news is relating to City offering 88 million. How can we refuse that and deny Paqueta the move? Yeah, I'd be astonished. I mean, that's brilliant money. In 1 year, to make that kind of profit on a player, I think is fantastic money. If it's true that City offered 88 million and we turned it down, and then the deal collapses, I think we're absolute mugs. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'd be disappointed to have Paqueta again next season. I love watching him play. Unfortunately, he's my new favourite player at West Ham, since Rice left. And it would be very disappointing to see him leave. But I think you also have to be pragmatic and say that, look, to flip a player for that kind of profit in 1 year is fantastic business. It's a great bid if it's 88 million. That's a great bid, and we should take it. And Paqueta, you never know what it'll do if you turn down a very, very good bid. I think the player will understand more if the bid is a bit paltry and you turn it down, because you can justify it to the player and say, look, they're trying to get you on the cheap. We shouldn't be expected to sell you on the cheap. It's not that we're trying to prevent you from furthering your career or moving to a big club, because we wouldn't prevent you from doing it. They just have to pay what you're worth in this market, and that bid wasn't good enough. But 88 million, you can't tell him that, especially when you've agreed a contract with him where at the end of this season he has an 85 million pound release clause. So then you can't justify not selling him for 88. So I think if that's the fee, we should accept it immediately. Of course, you negotiate the payment structure. It's different if there's a problem with the payment structure, but I think City showed with their bid for Rice that they're quite comfortable paying these off pretty quickly. So I don't imagine payment structure would be a major issue. Excuse me. But it'll be an interesting one to keep our eye on. But yeah, we'd be mad to turn down 88 million. Sad as it would be to lose him. I mean, Jesus, you could do something with that money. You really could. It just depends. Then the problem, of course, at West Ham is how are we going to spend it? Who are we going to replace Paqueta with? Because they're a great player. I mean, look, if we said, for example, if you would say to me, right, we're going to take the 88 million or even 85, but 85 million I would take, and then we're going to go get Yusuf Fofana. I'd be like, yeah, fucking go do it. Happy days. We get Fofana for a lot less than that. There will still be plenty of money left in the kitty to strengthen other areas. You can. Plus, we got the Paqueta. We'd have also the Scamacca money, so we can go get a really good striker. We can replace Paqueta with someone like Fofana. We could get ourselves a really nice left back. Is it Truffert or someone like that? You could go and get a really nice left back / left wing back. You could do a lot with that. You could go and get a left winger to challenge Benny for that spot. You could do a lot with that. So if we play our cards right, we could do really well out of this. As much as we hate losing Rice, losing Paqueta, losing Scamacca, it really comes down to how you recruit. You can lose these players if you're replacing them with the right people. You can actually improve your team overall selling these players if you get your recruitment right. You can do really great business. So, but we're West Ham, and do you trust Moyes to agree to the right players to replace them with? That's the problem. But look, I'm not going to mind if Paqueta ends up staying and he's okay with that. Fine. I love watching that guy play football. Excuse me. Suchik would have had to be arrested. Chicken molesting before Moyes drops him. Yeah. I don't know. I think if Ward-Prowse comes in, I mean, we're dropping £30 million on James Ward-Prowse. I can't imagine how Moyes would justify paying £30 million for a player to warm the bench. Certainly, if it's my money that's being spent, if I'm the chairman and my manager wants £30 million to bring in a midfielder and then he's sitting on the bench, I would have some questions. Why do we have a £30 million midfielder that you begged and pleaded for sitting on the fucking bench? If you wanted a squad player, I could have got you one for half that. So he's going to have to play Ward-Prowse. You can't justify sitting him on the bench just to keep Suchik on the field. That's not going to fly, especially if the results aren't coming, because he's going to find himself in the door queue. Just sitting here, Suchik, Fornells and Downs. That could be the case potentially. Could be Suchik, Fornells and Downs in our midfield tomorrow. Fucking hell. Like, I like Fornells. I think actually that's his best position. So I know on paper it's disappointing because, we the names that are being bandied about, obviously we have Paqueta. If he's not there, that's a blow. Alvarez didn't come in soon enough to feature tomorrow. Ward-Prowse won't be done in time. We haven't gone in for someone like Fofana, a brilliant box-to-box player. And so when you see Souček, Fornals and Downs, it's like, oh, shit. So Downs and Souček are the ones that worry me. I think Fornals can do fine in midfield. I think it's his more natural position. If you were to put Fornals in the Paqueta role against Bournemouth, I think he could do a job. Now, he's not as good as Paqueta, obviously. But Fornals, it's his more natural position in that central position. So that central area of the pitch, I think he could do a decent job. You'd worry about Souček and Downs, though. You really would. Compared to, say, potentially having Fofana and Alvarez. There's just no comparison whatsoever. Does Paqueta play tomorrow? We don't know. I think he will. Wishing Western a good season, but looks like a lot has to be sorted out yet. Skevy, how are you? Long time no see. For those of you who don't know, Skevy started showing up in the live chats when we were drawn against Larnaca in the Conference League. Skevy is over in Cyprus and is a Larnaca fan. And so has basically decided to adopt West Ham as her Premier League team. So, but I haven't seen you in here for a little while, Skevy, but it's good to see you again. But yeah, we have a lot to do, a lot of work to do in the transfer market. What we've done so far has not been enough, not by a long shot. It seems there's been a bit of a power struggle. Our new director of football, or technical director, to give him his proper title, Tim Stuyton, has a very different outlook on the game to David Moyes. And so the kinds of players that David Moyes wants to sign, Tim Stuyton is not keen on, and vice versa. So it appears that, at least for now, that power struggle has been won by David Moyes, and we are signing the players that he wants. So obviously bids accepted for James Ward-Prowse and Harry Maguire. Those are clearly not Stuyton signings, they're David Moyes signings. The Alvarez signing is also not a Tim Stuyton signing, despite some fans on Twitter claiming so. It was actually Mark Noble who mooted Alvarez as someone we should go and sign and pushed for us to sign him. And so that's actually a Mark Noble signing, really. So it'll be interesting to see how he does. Hopefully, Nobes has got this one right. Guarino says De Bruyne went off injured, so may force Man City. Yeah, I was thinking that. I watched most of the first half of the City game. Saw De Bruyne going off injured, and I was like, oh no. Like, if that's a bad injury that's going to keep him out for some time, that could really change the picture when it comes to Manchester City's determination to sign Paqueta. They might think we need Paqueta in by next week. He needs to play for us next weekend. Which now it might mean for us that we get the money that we want. Man City may decide to overpay a bit for him, potentially. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if that changes the picture. De Bruyne too, I think, is going to be a worry for City now, because he is starting to pick up injuries now, far more than he did before. So he looks to be injury prone now at this point in his career. Paqueta listed as a doubt for tomorrow's 75% chance of playing. That sound when you say listed as a doubt, is this one of those things where we pretend he's picked up a little niggle because and that he's at doubt because we don't know yet how the picture is going to look with this deal for him to go to City, on whether or not we're actually going to play him? I guarantee you, if he doesn't play tomorrow and we get some bullshit that he's picked up a niggle, and then we agree a fee with Man City, I bet you he goes and passes his medical. I bet you there's no niggle. Bet there's no injury. That is us hedging our bets and waiting to see what happens over the next number of hours with Man City's determination to go and sign him and how close it looks to being. That I don't believe for a second he's got any injury. If that's what that's about. That's what it sounds like. Listed as a doubt and 75% chance of playing. That's what you say about a player who's picked up a niggle. I'll take a draw tomorrow, 100%. A draw tomorrow, given the team that will be available. I mean, especially if Paqueta doesn't play. I think a point at that stage would be actually a very reasonable result. Bournemouth are going to be tough to beat tomorrow. Make no doubt about it. Like they've signed some good players. If Paqueta plays, he stays. I think I wouldn't go so far as to say he definitely stays if he doesn't play tomorrow. But what I would say is that it's not close. It doesn't mean that it's broken down between necessarily. It might have, of course, but it doesn't necessarily mean that talks are broken down between Man City and West Ham for Paqueta. It just means that it's just not close enough to the point where we don't want to risk injuring him. That we're still some way off on agreeing a fee for him. But I wouldn't consider it dead just because he doesn't play. Yeah, we saw that. Peter Johnson, Paqueta agreed 6-year deal in terms with Pep. So just the fee needed to be. You can't see him playing as he wouldn't bother on the pitch as he's already in Manchester in his head. I don't know. I'd give him a little bit more credit than that. I think if he plays tomorrow, I think he'll go out and play. I don't think he'll down tools or he'll try to coast through the game to stay injury free. I understand where you're coming from. If it's anywhere close, he won't play anyway. So I think if he does play, it means it's not close. And so I do think I don't want to put a slight on Paqueta's character yet because I haven't seen anything to justify that. But I understand where you're coming from. But I don't think he'll do it. I think if he plays, he'll go out and he'll try and really play. You can look at it the other way too, of course, and that if he goes out to play tomorrow, he could. This could be the game where he says to Man City, "Trust me, pay the money, pay the extra money for me. I'm worth it." He could go out and want to absolutely put on a display for Man City. Who knows how he'd be thinking? It's hard to say. James Ward-Prowse, a fantastic signing. Yeah. Depends how you look at it, right? Because I get what you're saying. Look, I like James Ward-Prowse. I think he's got too much stick from a certain section of the fan base who have described him as kind of like bang average. I think he's better than bang average. I think he's a very good footballer. He's not just a set-piece merchant. That's all we've been hearing last week. Oh, he's just a set-piece merchant. What else does he do? Are you seriously telling me James Ward-Prowse is not a massive upgrade on Thomas Souček? Because he is. He's a massive upgrade. I didn't particularly want to sign James Ward-Prowse for two reasons. The first one being I thought we could get better. I wanted someone like Fofana, like a real box-to-box athlete, because I think we need a box-to-box athlete for balance. So the balance in my head was you've got a proper DM in Alvarez, then you've got your playmaker in Paqueta, and then your box-to-box athlete in Fofana. And I thought that balance would be perfect, and it would be an absolutely immense midfield trio. Immense. Also, I thought Southampton were just looking for too much money. They were talking like 40 million quid for Ward-Prowse, and I'm sorry, he's just not a 40 million pound player. I was much more comfortable at 25. It seems now that the total deal will be 30. Okay, we're paying a bit over the odds, but not 40 fucking million. Not fucking 15 million over the odds. If it's 5, I don't know if that's add-ons included or what? Is it 25 plus 5 or is it just a straight up 30 million? I don't know, but I'm more comfortable at that than I was at 40, a hell of a lot more comfortable. And if we're just not going to go in and try and sign Fofana, we still need to upgrade on Thomas Souček, and he is a massive upgrade on Thomas Souček. I think we could have done better, but look, if that's what Moyes is insisting on and we've caved on it, I guess is there any point in bringing in a player Moyes doesn't want? I guess not, and if it's going to be James Ward-Prowse, then so be it. I think he'll actually do really well for us next season. We've upgraded the Thomas Souček position massively. Could have done it even more massively in my head and got an actual real proper player in there like Fofana, who would have been unbelievable. But look, you take what you can get, right? It's better than nothing. If it was Ward-Prowse or Souček, give me Ward-Prowse all day. I think he'll have a really good season for us. And let's not forget about those set pieces either. I mean, that's a massive, arrow in his quiver. That's gonna help us too. There's no doubting it. I mean, every time we get a free kick in scoring range, we're going to be up on the edge of our seats going, here we go, because you just feel like he's going to put it top bins. His corner deliveries, set piece free kick deliveries are just going to be top notch, and that matters too. So he'll score a few goals, make no mistake, and not just set piece. I mean he'll score from open play as well, and he'll be worth a few goals from set pieces. So I think overall for the money, I think it's a very decent signing. I really do, because Souček, I'm just sick of looking at Souček. I've heard that the third shirt is going to be lime green to match your Mancini. Yes, they consulted with me, and I demanded that it matched my Mancini. So that's why it's lime green. Oh God, could you imagine lime green? Paqueta only goes for big money. Well, yeah, absolutely, and we should demand big money because we're under no burden to sell him whatsoever. And as long as he's not kicking up any kind of a stink about it, then if he doesn't go, he doesn't go. We're not going to lose any sleep over it. So, especially now with De Bruyne injured, if he's out for some time, it puts us in an even stronger position, because we can say to City, look, we don't need to sell him, and he's not down in tools. If he stays, he stays, and he'll play, and he'll still try, and he'll play hard for us. So he's not going to throw his dummy out the pram if we don't sell him. So stump up the cash. You need to buy him a hell of a lot more than we need to sell him. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see if we play hardball and it works. But like I say, get as much as you can for him. Test City, right? You can always go back, right? There's nothing wrong with that. With backtracking, I wouldn't care. It's just a negotiation. You're playing your hand, and you play a strong hand and see what happens. If the feeling in the club is that we're going to say to City, oh no, we want like 100 million for this guy, and City are not willing to go there, you might still push them up to 90. And if they go to 90 and you say, no, it's not enough, we want to get the 100 for him, and then they say, right, look, we're going to leave it, we're just not willing to go that high, you can always go and say, all right, then go on, we'll take the 90. Nothing wrong with that. Push them as far as you can, see how far they're willing to go. And then take whatever their best offer is. If it's 85 million or above, I think it's a win. Scott Orson, Harwood, Bellis, Palmer, and 40. No, not for me. That's not enough. Harwood Bellis. You're talking about Harwood Bellis is like tops 15 million, right? 15 million, I think, would be reasonable for Harwood Bellis. Palmer would be no more than that either. Like these are players. These are not Premier League proven whatsoever. They're youngsters. They have a lot of talent and a lot of promise, but that's all. That's all they've got. Plus, remember, Man City are going to want to put in a buyback clause on both of those players. Both of them. And I think one of the main reasons possibly that we didn't sign Borges is potentially because of the buyback clause. I don't know if that's the case or not, But if that is the case, then there's absolutely no chance we're going to get either Howard Bellis or Palmer, because Man City would also want buyback clauses for them. If the buyback clause was not the problem, and we actually wanted to sign those two players, I would want at least 55 million plus Harwood, Bellis and Palmer. That to me would be an 85 million pound deal. So Howard and Bellis, between them, 30 million pounds for the pair. And I would want another 55 to bring it up to 85, because that is the release clause that will kick in next summer for Paqueta. So yeah, I wouldn't take 40 plus those two. I agree. In my opinion, if he has a clause for 85 million next year, his price this year should be over 100 million, just because of the value to the team and over the 12 months. No one's paying over 100. I don't know. I don't see I agree. It should be like 85 million is your baseline, right? That's your baseline price. That would be enough for me personally. 85 million, I think, would be great business in the space of 12 months. And like I say, if we invest that money properly, we could really do bits. If you take the money that we've gotten for Scamacca, Rice, Paqueta, plus, of course, don't forget we got a few quid as well from Torino. So not much, I know, but still money in the kitty. And we haven't spent much of it. So that would be a lot of money to play with to improve a number of positions. But yeah, 85 would be the baseline, absolutely. But I don't think we'd get over 100 million. I don't see that happening. I think we might. I'd be delighted if we pushed City to 90 million for Paqueta, and I think we'd be stupid not to take it. Richard B in the house, good to see you, bud. Kevin De Bruyne only on for 23 minutes, so they will need cover. They will come in for Paqueta. That's the feeling. And Andrew saying Paqueta head is gone now. If he is made to stay now, it will be detrimental to the team. I don't know. Obviously, I know what you mean by his head is turned, right? Because it's Man City and Pep, so it's a big deal. I'm sure he would love to make that move, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's going to cause a problem if it doesn't happen. I don't know, like his character, it's hard to say. I haven't seen anything yet from him to that effect, so I'm not going to judge the guy before he's done anything wrong. I don't want to jump the gun on his attitude or any attitude problems he might have. He might have none. Scott Fortin was too little. Yeah, Howard Bell's still around 15, or Pam was at 40 mark. No, I agree. So Paqueta would do a Payet if not allowed. See, this is again based on what? I'm not saying you're necessarily wrong. I'm saying it's a little unfair on Paqueta to start lumping him in with Payet or Arnautovic or players like that. I think it's a bit unfair. We haven't seen that from him. So let's see. Let's wait and see what happens. I don't want to say anything about the guy's character when it's really unwarranted right now. We're going down. No, I don't think we're going down. I know there's a lot of concern, right? West Ham fans. I share many of the concerns. I understand the pessimism going into this new season. I share it. But honestly, I don't think we get relegated. And I mean, like, even if Moyes were to stay for the whole season, I just don't think we go down. The reason I put that thumbnail there, this Moyesball 2.0, is this. Last season, Moyes tried something a little different, right? We went and got the likes of kind of Scamacca and Aguerd and Paqueta, all these players that normally you wouldn't expect Moyes to kind of be overly keen on. He brought in Mark Warburton, a friend of his, who is known for having a more progressive attacking style of football. The players that were brought in were intended to help us create a more attacking, progressive style of football. It was a disaster, a complete and utter disaster. And in the second half of the season, I can't remember for what game it was, when Moyes was doing a post-match interview, and he said as much himself that, look, we tried to do things a bit differently. It hasn't worked out for us. So, we're kind of going back to basics. So he went back to Moyesball last season, the thing that he trusted and that he knew and that he was comfortable with. Then he came out with the statement that he wants to sign players who are Premier League ready, who've played in the Premier League, know what it's all about, and are good to go and don't require any great settling in period. Because that was one of the reasons he blamed for last season. Now, I think it's horseshit, but this is David Moyes' head, okay? He believes this. And so what we're seeing this summer is David Moyes deciding, if we're going to avoid a relegation scrap again, if I'm going to keep my job and potentially get a new contract, I'm going to have to go back to what worked for me when I first came to the club, when we finished 6th and 7th in the Premier League. And that's what you're seeing in the transfer market. That's why you're seeing Harry Maguire, James Ward-Prowse, links with McTominay, and various other players who are Premier League proven, Premier League ready. Okay, so he went with Alvarez. He was persuaded on Alvarez. He can be persuaded on certain players. You just will not persuade him to sign some striker he doesn't really know, who's banging goals in France, with Moussa or whoever it is, right? You can't persuade him on Fofana. Again, France, never played in the Premier League. The left back that went to, Bournemouth, who we'll face tomorrow, that played for Alkmaar. I've drawn a blank in his name. You all know who I mean. He couldn't be persuaded to bring in someone like that. He's young. He's inexperienced in football generally because he's young, and he's never kicked a ball in the Premier League. So Moyes is literally like, fuck no. I tried that last season and it didn't work. I want people who I know can play in my system in the Premier League. That's why it's Moyesball 2.0. He's hit the reset button on our squad. And he's gambling that going back to his basics and doing the things that he's comfortable with will see us have another strong season. Whether that pans out or not remains to be seen. Whether he can bring all of that back. It's not so easy. It's not so easy to reset and to get that success back. It's not so easy always to kind of remix the formula and get it right again. So we'll find out soon enough over these next few games, because we got some tough games coming up. So we'll find out over the next few games if that reset button, if we've got Harry Maguire in, and we've got James Ward-Prowse, and whoever else it is we sign before the end of the window, if we start seeing the kind of results that we saw in those 2 seasons, 2 very successful seasons that he had in the Premier League. So he's taken that gamble. It's once bitten, twice shy. He's reverting to type. So we're going to see Moyesball 2.0 next season. Whether it works or not, we'll see. One of the two coaches will make Paqueta better. Which one? Yeah, I know, and everyone knows that. It's not like Paqueta doesn't want to go. Of course he does. Not happy that came in 4 days before the start of the season. Yeah, they've left it. It's a strange one. I don't know why they've left it this late. You would think if they wanted Paqueta, they would have wanted him to be in pre-season and do the pre-season tour and all that stuff. It does seem a bit of a strange one that they've come in for him so late in the day. Now it's not late in the window, but it's certainly late as regards Premier League kickoff. So I mean, they played their first game this evening and they're just coming in from this week. It is a strange one that didn't come in earlier. I don't know why that is. They probably have their reasons, but has the Harry Maguire deal gone through yet? And James Ward-Prowse needs a double tap to activate send button. No, Harry Maguire isn't a done deal yet. And to be honest with you, there's no guarantee that Harry Maguire will actually be in time for the Chelsea game either. It seems, from what I'm hearing, now look, obviously I can't attest to the accuracy of this, but certainly it's one of the things I've heard is that Man United want to bring someone in, or at least be very close to be about to sign someone to replace Maguire before they let him walk out the door. Now that's no good to us, unless United are already well on their way to doing that, and they're going to expecting to sign someone in the next 3 or 4 days, because we need him in. We need Harry Maguire in for the Chelsea game. It's as simple as that. So yeah, I just don't want this Harry Maguire thing dragging on and on and on, because everything else is in place. So yeah, that's a worry. It's one of those that could fall through still. That is far from a done deal, Harry Maguire, even though it may seem like it's really advanced. And at one point it seemed like an inevitability, and very likely will still happen. But there's still that possibility that it doesn't happen. It would be very hard to go down the season. There are at least 3 to 5 teams. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get relegated. I really don't. Like, even last season, I won't lie. Even last season, I was, for a lot of it, I still felt like we'd be all right. I was worried, of course, because we were in a precarious position for a lot of the season. But I always just felt like we'd manage, that we'd do just enough, that we'd be okay. And thankfully, it turned out that way. Paqueta isn't going anywhere. He won't want to miss out on learning how to play Moyesball from the master. Is Julia saying correct? Irish, Brennan Johnson. Yeah, that's not going to work. Pac-Man should start tomorrow. Yeah, I think we need him to be completely honest. I mean, I just don't see how we can go out tomorrow without Paqueta in the midfield. I mean, it'd be crazy. Look, as much as Man City want him, he's not a Man City player right now. He's a West Ham player. And to be honest, I'd play him regardless. We need to try and get something at Bournemouth, and dropping our best player just because Man City might be signing him. No, fuck that. We need him in the team. Agreed about Ings, Tommy, a class player, and needs to be fed enough players to play off of. Yeah, Ings is an excellent striker, and he's proven it over enough years in the Premier League now. He's not an unknown quantity. He just cannot play Moyesball. Moyes makes no sense to me. Doesn't make sense to a lot of us, mate. Andrew saying we're morphing into Stoke. Yeah, we're like Stoke under Tony Pulis. Yeah, like I said, it's going to be back to Moyesball. So we'll see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to pop off soon. So I don't want to be in here for too long. And look, I can't keep up with the live chat, guys, to be honest. I am just scrolling down. I am so far behind the live chat. It's going to be impossible for me to keep up with it. I'm still scrolling. And it's flying past. There's a huge... So forgive me. It's just impossible. There's 198 people watching. Loads of people commenting in the live chat. It's still going. So it's impossible to keep up with. But as for this coming season, everything is going to hinge on how we negotiate the transfer window between now and when it closes. I'm really frustrated that we're so far behind again. Gary Killington saying it's a bloody nightmare running live chat on your own. Yeah, definitely. Especially when you got, like 190 odd people watching and live chats going mad. I mean, you guys can see it, the amount of comments regularly coming up. But yeah, look, we shouldn't be in this position again. I don't know what it is with us. We just drag out the transfer window over and over again. We're not ready for the new season. It's as simple as that. We've signed one player just before our first game, like 3 days, who's not ready to play. So we've sold our best player in Declan Rice. We've sold Skamaka. We've thinned out the team. I mean, a number of players have left. We've thinned out the team, and we have got no new signing who can play tomorrow. not one. And there can't be an excuse for this. I'm sorry, there just is no excuse for this, for allowing things to drag on the way they have, regardless of the reason, whether it's some kind of internal power struggle or it's just dallying over who we want to sign and how much we're willing to pay and dragging these things out. We shouldn't be going into our first game of the season a weaker team than we were when we finished last season. We should not be weaker. We should not be in the vulnerable position that we are in right now. It's inexcusable, completely inexcusable, because I know people say it's a 38-game season, but we had a horrific start last season and we never fully recovered from it. We picked up in the second half of the season a little bit to the point where we didn't get relegated. Remember, we were only really safe, like where you felt comfortable, maybe 4 games out from the end of last season. We won 2 games on the road all season, one at either end of the season, in August against Villa, and then towards the end of the season, funnily enough, away at Bournemouth. And Bournemouth didn't even bother that day. They were on the beach. So to start the season in this position is a disgrace, in my opinion. And it should not happen. To put ourselves in this position where now we are risking, again, having a horrible start to the season. Especially when you consider that Moyes has to know that he's on a very short leash, that he will get very little latitude at the start of this season. His job is on the line. And we got tough games. You know, we've got Chelsea, Liverpool, City coming up soon. And he's allowing himself to be in this position at the start of the season where not a single new signing will be available to play. And we only have one. And we're weaker than we were last season, personnel-wise. To go into a new season like that and put your own job on the line like that is crazy. I don't know why we keep doing this. I'll tell you what, I'm not optimistic. I'll be honest, and I'm not optimistic for tomorrow, particularly as the Bournemouth manager, Iriola, when he was at Rayo Vallecano and stuff like they like to press high. And teams that press high against us have a lot of joy because they win the ball back very quickly, time and time again. Because when teams press high against us, we really struggle to play the ball out from the back. We really struggle. We can't string 5 passes together. We cough the ball up and give it back. I reckon we'll have about 30% possession tomorrow against Bournemouth. There's a worst case scenario where it's even less. And I just see us struggling tomorrow. And I see us struggling for a while in the Premier League. The first 10 games for us could potentially be awful. Like really, really bad. I hope it doesn't turn out that way. We'll wait and see which players we actually sign before the end of the window. But I don't want to hear the fucking excuses from Moyes and the Moyes fanboys on Twitter. And if you're one of the Moyes fanboys in the live chat, I'm addressing you too, because you've made a hell of a lot of excuses for him. Some valid, I will give you that. But if we go into this season as weak as we are personnel-wise, because we haven't got a single player who's been signed who can start in the early games, and we have a horrible opening 10 games of the season, I'm sorry, you can't give the excuse that, it'll be better once we have all our signings in. They should have fucking been in. They should have been in. Maybe not every single one, but we should have had most of our business done by now. And those players should be good to go and raring to go against Bournemouth on the opening day tomorrow. To me, there's no excuse for the position that we've put ourselves in going into the new season. And it could be that ultimately is what will cost David Moyes his job. The fact that we had no players ready to go, that we weakened the team ahead of the new season. And if he gets sacked because of it, because we can't win a fucking game of football, he will have only himself to blame. Only himself. He was back to the hilt last season to the tune of 200 odd million, right? If you include Danny Ings in January, he was backed to the tune of 200 or so million pounds. We shouldn't even be in this position. We shouldn't be in the position where we're weaker now than we were at the end of the season. We should still have a very good team here at West Ham. A team that was paid for last season. We should have been able to improve the weaker positions. This summer should have been about improving our fullback positions, getting some proper midfielders in there who weren't called Thomas Souček to improve that position, replacing Rice. It was inevitable he was leaving. Getting some competition in for Benny and Bowen, getting rid of Antonio, trying to get Ings out the door, and getting better backup strikers for Scamacca. That's what this summer should have been about. Improving the other positions that we didn't buy in last summer. But no, what are we doing? £30 million on a centre-back. Another centre-back, 30 million quid. We're still buying centre-backs for big money. Like, what the fuck are we doing? We've got no new fullbacks. None. There's still no real competition for Benny, unless you want to include Cornet, but whether he can stay fit for 5 minutes or not remains to be seen. We don't know what's going to happen with Cornet this season. He might not be able to compete at all for Benrahma's spot. He might break down again. Can't trust Cornet to be the guy. Bowen still got absolutely no competition on the right-hand side. First half of last season particularly, Bowen was absolute dog shit. Dog shit. And he still played every single week because there was fucking nobody else there that we could put out on that right-hand side who was worth a damn. So far was shit. First half of last season. And here we are. What if Bowen's playing shit again? No, have to keep playing him. Benny's still got no real competition. We're going into a new season. Antonio's going to be fucking up top again. Nothing doing up front. Left back, Cresswell wants out. He's getting older. No competition, no proper left back there. I mean, I like Emerson. He's a decent player. And he'll start, presumably, tomorrow. And I think he'll do all right. That's all we've got. What if he gets injured or suspended? We're back to Cresswell. He doesn't even want to be here. We shouldn't be in this position. It's a joke. Absolute joke. This is how our club is run. So, look, we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm not looking forward to it, to be honest. Look, it'll be good to have the football back. Good to have Premier League back, obviously, but it's a double-edged sword because I'm not looking forward to what I'm expecting to see tomorrow from us at Bournemouth. I would love to be pleasantly surprised. I really would. But I don't expect to be. I don't expect to be. Because they're going to press high. Because that's how Iriola likes to play. And we won't be able to get out of our half for large periods. When we do try to play out, we'll cough the ball up. Other times we'll just hoof it downfield and hope Antonio can hold it up. We haven't addressed the fact that we've got no pace on the counter-attack. None whatsoever. We haven't bought a ball-carrying midfielder, a box-to-box player like Fofana. The way we play, I don't understand why we're making the signings we're making, right? Because you can play a counter-attacking system. I'm not against being a counter-attacking team. It's a perfectly legitimate way to set your team up. But when you set up like that, you're going to need someone who's going to be able to carry a ball out from midfield, right? You're going to need some pace so you can hit teams on the counter quickly. We don't have a ball-carrying midfielder. We don't have any pace in the team. Bourne has a little bit, but nothing scary. Don't have any pace down the left. Benny doesn't have any pace. Fornals, who plays sometimes, doesn't have any pace whatsoever. You also need centre-backs who won't panic and hoof the ball. You need centre-backs who are really comfortable on the ball, who are happy to play the ball out, pass the ball out from the back, or when possible, carry the ball out from the back and actually drive forward themselves down the field and then pop it off. Aguerd possibly can do it, but we haven't really seen much of that, it has to be said. I guess Moyes just doesn't really give them the license to do that. He doesn't want them driving upfield and leaving a gap in behind. So we don't really see Aguerd, who's capable of doing it, even doing it. So the one thing we have to be able to do really well, which is hit teams quickly on the counter, we can't do. And Souček can't pass the ball. Can't do it. So we keep coughing up possession every time we're pressured. And Bournemouth will do that tomorrow. And so we're going to be going mad, sitting down, watching the game. If you're at the game, or if you're watching it at home, or wherever, get ready to look like me at the end of the game. Because we're going to keep coughing the ball up. We'll have 30% possession odd, maybe a little less even. And we'll struggle to create any chances whatsoever to score goals. Any chances whatsoever. It's going to be, I expect tomorrow fully to be a horrible thing to watch based on what I saw last week. And if either Paqueta cannot play or has a strap on, because not a strap on, not going there, a strop, S-T-R-O-P, has a strap on because he's not getting his way to go to Man City, or his head's not in it, or he's trying to not get injured. Could be even worse. I can't believe we're in this position again. Can't believe we're in this position again. And if it costs Moyes his job over the next number of games, I will have absolutely no sympathy for the man. With the money he's spent last season and his inaction in spending money so far this summer, if we go out and look terrible, cheerio. Don't ever say you weren't backed, because you fucking were. You fucking were backed. And you fucked it up. And it's your fault. I'm going to leave it there, folks. Look, I really hope I'm coming on here next Friday with a lot more positive attitude. I really want to be. You know, if we go to Bournemouth and we play decent and we pick something up, even if it's a point, and then, you know, we get some players in during the week, and I mean like 3, who are good to go for the Chelsea game. We might, the picture could potentially look a little bit different. It could look a bit different, and I hope it does. But I'm not optimistic. But nonetheless, West Ham